And hello, movie lovers, and welcome to the show. So, with me, I have Creighton Hobbs with me. We're going to be reviewing Ozark Season 4, Part 2. And, by the way, guys, while you're here and everything, do me a big favor. Go over to Good Pods, go over to Apple Podcasts, go over to Spotify, and rate us over there. Tell us what you think about my show. And that'll actually help other people to find our content and stuff like that within the rankings of those podcasts itself. But without further ado, let's go on ahead, get on with the show. This is Ozark Season 4, Part 2. So, let's do this. All right, and how you doing, Creighton?
Hi, I'm doing good, man. How are you? And how's everybody out there in Movie Lovers Unite land?
Well, I'm doing good up until I saw the season finale of this, or the final season of this. But we'll get into that a little bit later. But as far as the season goes, man, I really enjoyed the writing. I definitely enjoyed what they did here with Part 2. And I was actually a little bit afraid of what they were going to do with splitting it into two parts. Is it going to be like doing a Sopranos or anything like that with the way they were doing things? Although now Sopranos is actually seasoned within me, so therefore I understand why they did it the way they did it and stuff like that. Yeah. But anyways, this actually leaves off right where we left with Part 1, where Ruth is actually going to go after Javier. And this is something that I have to say, is this. When something's implanted in Ruth's head, it does not leave there. It just stays there the whole entire time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And and you know what the... Oh, sorry. Go on ahead.
Sorry, but, like, the one thing, too, is that, and this is coming from somebody who writes movies, direct movies, and all that mess. Okay, honest to God, I could see and I can applaud everybody at Ozarks, whoever wrote it, that Ruth never veered from her character. She was the same Ruth that was in season 1 all the way up to the last episode.
Although I have
Ruth,
well, to be honest with you, I'm going to be honest with you about Ruth, though. She started off from the bottom and worked her way up to the top of the chain. Yeah. To the point where she's like mob boss level, kind of. But went legit. Yeah. But though, I actually, whenever I watched the trailer for this, right, I'm like, oh my god, she's going after Navarro's nephew. And I'm like, oh my god, is she really gonna shoot him? And I like how she's going through the scenarios of different ways of killing him, how she's gonna kill him, if she's gonna kill him, and that contemplation, because she never actually physically killed anyone before. So she's like, where do I go from there? And then you also have Marty that's trying to talk her down, trying to do his thing. And basically, you think that she might actually do that, and then she winds up turning the tables, where pretty much the same thing that Javi did to her cousin Hoyt, and to what he did to her Darlene is exactly what she did to him. She blindsided him as soon as she stepped in that office. That was one way how you actually get him down, to be honest.
That was pure gangster, that was Ruth, like showing, and anybody who's watched and followed the Ozarks, they realized, or if they remembered, Langmore, that's the cursed family name. It's kind of like, you're gonna be this, the redneck family that's going to be that. And when I saw that scene in particular where Ruth blindsided him, I was just like, oh, okay, so this is the Langmore that they've all been talking about, blindsided you and just doing it,
She got it over with. She walks out the door just like in Godfather 1. Doesn't even care at all. And she, you know what, though? I like how she goes up to the rapper and stuff like that, too. And she's like, well, and she's listening to the rap music by Nas. And, the Cousin of Death, which is actually reminiscent to Wyatt, though, too. Because of the fact that, Javi winds up killing her cousin, and she's listening to that song. So it's very reminiscent to her and close to her. So no wonder why, she was listening to that song to try and cope with things. But I definitely like the setup for that. I thought that was really interesting on how they did that. And then, of course, you wind up seeing, like I said, Wendy at Chicago, and Javi is supposed to be meeting them there. And then you also have the other girl that's there with them too, that's supposed to be part of that pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
And she kills him right in front of her. And I like how her eyes are twitching. Did you notice that? Her eyes were actually twitching at that part, like trying to do a double take of what just happened, what she just witnessed.
Yeah. That was excellent. Just excellent acting on that, because it felt like you was there in the or in the next room watching this. It just felt like whoever, I don't know who directed that one particular episode, but it was phenomenal. It was just like, wow. I did I just see this?
But it was definitely a great episode, to be honest with you, the way that they opened it up with that one. But let's just go on we're just going to go on ahead and talk about some of our other favorite scenes in this. We're not going to go for scene because there's like 8 episodes. So therefore, we're not going to do that. But when you look at this as a whole, then you also have the whole entire deal with Ben, who's been missing since the last couple of season 3.
Yeah.
And I like how they actually play off of that though, where even though we know what happened to him, there's also people theorizing, oh, Ben's still alive because we didn't see a body. If you don't see a body, that means he's alive. Nope, he's dead.
Yeah.
Even when Anthony from ACS and I were doing our review for that episode, I said, no, he goes, under over, is he dead? I said, he's dead, dude. I said, just because we didn't see a body, even though we actually saw him getting cremated, that he's dead. He ended up burning way too many fires to the point where Wendy and them couldn't even put out. So therefore they had no choice but to put him down. And then you see the father coming to this town, and we all know about his little backstory about what he did to Wendy and stuff like that. And then you're wondering, okay, does this guy really have the best interest of the children at heart? And everything too. Yeah. Because at first you're thinking, okay, this guy is actually trying to get them away from harm. And come to find out, he only has his own plot, his own motives. He's even going through alcoholism and stuff like that. So So let me plant this one for you, Creighton. So do you go with the family that's part of the drug cartel and possibly get killed, or do you go with the abusive grandfather who's actually going to adopt you and take you in away from this danger and put you in more danger by being addicted to alcohol?
Right. And see, to me, the way, and this is coming from a director type thing, and when I watch a series like Ozark, right, I'm kind of able to decipher it differently than people who just watch it and enjoy it, but I could see the correlation of whoever wrote it, that it's kind of like you ever heard that saying, like father like son?
Yeah.
Or like daughter like father? If you think of it in that aspect, it's almost identical. But different scenarios, but it's different things. Wendy is very much a different person outside of the birdhouse, right? Totally different. She's
manipulative.
She throws
her weight around. Yeah.
And same thing with her father. Did you see how, like, when he was in front of the church group, how he was just this great loving, but behind, when he got in there, he was popping open the box. It's like, oh, wait a minute, this is totally. I can see where Wendy gets it from,
right? But I think it's the fact that they have too much in common is why they don't relate to each other, or they hate each other, because they're both exactly the same in some type of way. It's just that Wendy has more power than her dad does. He is dealing with alcoholism, his abuse towards Wendy, and also too, if that story is true that Wendy was the one who winded up taking care of the mother, then her father's actually a douchebag.
Yeah, exactly.
But Wendy is more manipulative, even though he uses the church as a crutch to think that, oh, look how good I am because I go to church. Sanctify me. Forget
Yeah.
you. I'm going to go into this hotel room now and drink away while I'm looking for my missing son, who I supposedly care about. But really, all you care about is yourself and your own end goals, which is to destroy Wendy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And just like what you said, we've seen that same scenario play out in previous seasons of the way Wendy would do. She would destroy anybody to get that casino running, right?
Mm-hmm.
She
Right.
wouldn't care. And guess what? Her dad was the same way. So it's like, you
Mm-hmm.
know,
And it's like calling the right.
the,
But also, too, another thing, too, is I have to agree. There's something about this season that I really liked was when
Mhm.
you have the daughter, then you have Root saying, so is this Wendy wanting you to do this, or is this something that you want to do? And that
Yeah.
just goes to show you how much control that she has over him. It's kind of like my big Greek wedding. In fact, Greek wedding is like the women are basically the puppeteers in a sense, where they move the head
Yeah.
and everything, and he does everything that she says.
Yeah.
And and to me, Wendy's very abusive to Marty in a sense. He doesn't care about the casino stuff or anything like that. His end goal was basically to get himself out of this whole entire cartel stuff. And Wendy wanted the casino. She wanted all this other stuff to show her own power, woman of power.
Yeah,
And,
that's right.
And then we see that. And then also, too, now, I liked how Marty has to go and cover for Navarro and act like he's actually the boss. And so, and I like how he looks down to where that torture chamber is down in the hole, because that was also very reminiscent to him on what he did.
To him,
went through. It's like, I remember this. Now here I am. I'm the person that's looking on the outside looking in. And now I might have to do what Navarro does. And I can't show any sign of weakness, otherwise those guys are going to eat me up and know that I'm full of crap. Even though that he's unconscious, I have to make them believe that he's still able to walk around and everything.
That's right. And even after that, when he spoke to Navarro, right? And when he's like, what did you do? And he said, you did it right, Marty. That's exactly what I would have done. You know, I was like, oh, that's chilling. You know.
But you can see it. At first, Marty's a little uncomfortable with it, right?
Sure.
Then at first, he's very uncomfortable with it. Then, as the days prolong, he's starting to get used to it, used to the torturing. And he has that little smirk on his face. And then he even sits down like Navarro does in front of him. Because of the fact, okay, yes, one thing he did was he fibbed on the numbers to allocate the numbers to where it benefited him, so that way he could support his own family. Yeah. But, you know, I think if Marty would have played his cards right, he would have been able to kill his sister, Navarro's sister.
Yeah.
Right then and there. Considering the fact he didn't find out until after the fact, that was his biggest mess up. But at that point, it was actually hard to tell anyone anything, because then next thing you know, the sister's coming over to the United States. So it's like, okay. So, and then Wendy's like, I can probably use her for her power. I'm like, you were a dumbass. You need to go in and kill her.
I know, that's what everybody was like thinking.
Because here's the thing. The smartest thing that they could have done was this, because this is the way I thought it was going to end, was this. Navarro is getting away. They actually did the deal to where he gets out of prison, right? So my thing was this. I was thinking, while that's happening, are they going to go in and cancel each other out? Where the sister whacks him, and then you also have the hitman on Navarro going ahead and whack the sister, so therefore you cancel the both of them out. Then guess what? Marty's stuck being in Mexico because now the FBI wants him there. Yeah. That's what was going in my head, which would make more sense. Right. And everything. Because they give him the hitman number, but you don't do jack shit with it. It would have been a cool scene to actually see these two scenes go down, but you don't do nothing.
And see, and that's clever script writing to make the audience give suggestions of, this is what I want to see, this is what I'm hoping to see, and then it goes another way, and you're just sitting there, and you're gonna. And the goal of Ozarks is to make you sit there and watch it all the way through.
True.
That's the trick of the game for anybody who makes a movie. How can I keep you interested? How can I keep you
Engaged.
make this? So that's the clever script writing and the directing of making this. It's like, how can I do this? And how can I just mess with the audience a little bit, thinking it's going to go this way, but it actually goes this way. And you're like, oh,
Right.
That's the right way to do it, because if not, it's kind of like, well, I guess yeah, I saw that happening. But you're like, I didn't see that happening. See, that's the,
Right.
Yeah.
I gotcha. And then also, too, another thing I want to mention is this. We see some characters that was from season 1, and they make their way into season 4. I love that because of the fact we got to see the bar, the person who owned the bar in the first season. You got to see the kid who had special needs, and stuff like that. And I'm like, is Marty going to go on ahead and give him a job? Because that's what was my first instinct, was Marty was going to go on ahead and give him a job, but they didn't do anything with that. No. Then I thought, well, okay, maybe the girl from the bar might actually give him a job too. Nope, that doesn't happen either. So it's like, okay, so this kid's not going to do anything. Okay, got it. So,
well, I think what a lot of people who's watched it all and what they kind of don't think about is that this whole season, from beginning and to the end, it's come full circle. It really has. If you think about it, it has come full circle, because you've got to see a lot of the people who was in season 1 in season 4. There's the beginning and then there's the end. So they were like, I know they gotta, script writers gotta write it how they can, but it's like, if we're going to end this season, then let's try to make everything as possibly we can to end it where it began, with,
making it reminiscent, pretty much.
Right.
And we're going to get to some reminiscing stuff, because Ruth goes through a lot of reminiscing to the point where I'm like, okay, I know how this is going to end for her.
Right.
But we'll get to that in a few minutes. But I do want to go back on the fact where Marty is over back in Mexico, like I said, and then the sister's over there talking to him, and then he realizes, oh shit, she's the one who put the hit on Navarro. And then I like how Navarro's mind clicks when she visits him in prison.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, so my sister came to visit me. And he didn't have to say anything. He didn't even have to ask Marty. He knew right then and there.
Yep.
That Navarro knew. Because she was talking about old times. And she was talking about the time when I was little.
Yeah.
She wants to kill me. She was the one who she was the one who wanted me whacked. And it kind of goes along to what Goodfellas says. They're not going to send you someone that you don't know. You're going to send you someone that you trust. It's just it's cold-hearted to know that was your sister that did it.
Right.
And she just wanted she's another Wendy, though, in a sense, but more coldness, though, to her.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when you grow up in the cartel, I mean, sure, you're going to have a little bit more coldness to you.
Definitely. Most definitely. And, dude, okay, so I like how they brought the girl from the hotel in, and then all of a sudden, then you see the brother working with Ruth, talking about the bird's son. And he goes, so who do I have to go to get my record sponged so I can undertake the bird's casino? And so happens to be, he tells her the people that she can contact and stuff like that. Yeah. Go over to see the judge. And Ruth does such a good job of playing it off, though, even though she actually means it. And she gets her record sponged. Yeah. And there's a moment of redemption for Ruth.
Yeah.
Because now she doesn't have to work. Even though she says, and even the brother winds up asking her, so how does it feel now not to have that over your head? Oh, it's just words, right? But I could tell, though, that it also means a lot more to her than what she's putting on.
Yeah. And which brings me to her death scene, because, she was wearing that white dress. which to me symbolized and angelic, new beginning, white,
Mhm.
expunged. And like when she was driving down her driveway, she was happy go lucky. She was like, I'm building a new house, I got a new life. It's, the Langmore curse is over, type of thing. And then of course when she gets killed, the symbolism, to me, I picked up on that because when she got shot in the heart and you saw that blood, come from her white dress, it's kind of like, it clicked to me. But I was like, now she's joining the rest of her family. There's all
Right.
of them are gone, and she's being there to where she was originally family. And there's only one of them left, three.
Well,
But
another thing I want to mention about that though is too, you have the sister wearing you have Navarro's sister wearing black. You also have
black,
Ruth that's wearing
hmm
white, which,
white.
and some people don't realize this, but white can also be a resemble death
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah. It can.
Because yeah, because I remember reading a poem or whatever. This has nothing to do with the show, but I still
Right.
remember reading a poem, and one of the poems was about a traveler going into the snow, and he's a really weary traveler, and I'm like, this guy's on death row, pretty much. He's dead.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, so white can also resemble death. Therefore, she's also now going to be with her family. But also, too, when she sits on top of the trailer and she sees Wyatt,
hmm
and then you see the other cousin come up over there and she goes, "Oh, you're sitting with Wyatt? Yeah, can I come up in there and join?" And you can
Yeah.
tell now that this is not going to end well for Ruth.
Right.
Because not
Yeah.
because she's talking to dead people or anything like that. It's because of the fact that she's reminiscing about stuff that Wyatt wanted, and because
hmm
she's trying to do something right that Wyatt wanted, and that was his memory that she wanted to do. So
Yeah.
that's what I felt from that scene,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
hmm
okay, Ruth is dead, even though she's a powerful character. I had a
Yeah.
feeling that she was going to die.
Right.
But Javi, I didn't expect Javi to die in the first couple of minutes of this. I thought he was going to be a bigger thing for this season, more of a threat. I thought it
Right.
was going to be more of Navarro and Javi going at it. But
Right.
they get him out of the way, and Javi's just a little small pawn compared to the sister.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
I
know?
know. Right. Yeah. He's just. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm. They probably wanted to explore that more, but dealing with scheduling contracts and things of that nature and
And
Netflix,
and
they
we also had
got
the we also had
yeah.
the C virus though too.
And yeah, and so it's kind of like, they're like, well, all right, we got Netflix was probably scheduling wise. It's like, well, we got to get the
Hmm.
point across in these so many shows. It's like we got him for this many months, and then we got to do what we can, type thing. And that
True.
happens on the editing, script writing, throwing pages
Right.
away,
But
and
here's
so.
another thing though. I want to talk about the PI though too.
Mhm.
The
Oh yeah,
PI. Now, the PI himself, we also learned last season, not last season, this is part 2, but we learned from part 1 of season 4 that this is a guy that was strung out on drugs. He wound up being addicted to cocaine, got kicked off of the police force. And then that was it. That was the end of his badge. All he does is PI work for private families and stuff like that. And also, too, he also represented the blonde lawyer that got shot by Navarro. And that was his main goal, was to find out what happened to her. Then he starts digging for Ben, and then he winds up uncovering more stuff on the birds. And it
yep.
got to the point where the birds was like, okay, well, we can't kill him. He's too much of an asset to to Wendy's father. We can't just make him disappear like everybody else. So what do we do? Oh, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and get his badge back, and we'll promise this other guy that's going to help with this a boat. So my thing is, I thought, well, okay, are they going to give him an actual boat, or is he talking about like casino boat on the water, giving basically a package deal where he does some gambling
Yeah.
on a boat? So I'm like,
No.
okay, is this a boat or is this going to be like a boat that you go ahead and gamble on and would they give them some vultures or something?
Right.
Vulture. You know what I'm
And
saying?
and see, that is part of movie making where you throw out a word and then it's up to the audience member to say, I think it means this. But then your friend that's right next to you says, I think it means this. It's kind of like uh you ever heard of that saying, and this is for anybody else as well, but it's like I can tell what a person is truly like by asking them this question: who do you think killed John F. Kennedy? Well, whatever your answer is going to be, that tells me more about you as a person, right? Than anything. That one answer that really tells me about you as a person. Same thing with this, like the boat situation. And this happens a lot through the Ozarks. They throw out a statement like that. A who do you think killed JFK? And you, as the viewer, can come up to your own conclusion with it in your own mind of
Exactly.
what you think. And that's what creates shows like this. You know, this is what creates the interest of the shows, you know.
Right. Another thing though too is I want to talk about this. They were also going to go ahead and put in a reg election to get what they wanted
Mhm.
and everything. And I like how the birds go up to the guy like towards the end. It was, oh yeah, that stuff you wanted me to do. Guess what? We're not doing that either. And at that moment, they were actually going on ahead, getting Navarro out of prison. So it's like, okay, well, the deal's done. So therefore, we don't need you anymore. Slid the seat from under him. You also have the PI that's on their tail though too. And you're thinking that he actually did take the job. And then I like how he's leaving the hotel. You see that cookie jar there of the goat. And I'm like, this is going to come into play later.
Yep.
He's not going anywhere. That was my first initial thought. This guy is sticking around, and we might not see him until the very end.
Yeah.
And I like how they played that off. I thought also
Yeah.
too, you also have the guy from the very first season as well, the one that owned the real estate with his mother. Then he went from doing that
Yeah. To
to
going to
marrying
North
a
Carolina.
right.
Yeah.
So he winds up supposedly getting saved, but really he's going to be sleeping with the girl that the father's banging. I don't know how that's.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very confused about that. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, wait a second.
See,
That
that's one of those open to interpretations, like, you know, what I was just saying. See, that's why, like, I could follow this way better than anybody else because I write, you know, like this, where you put a statement out there, but it's up to the viewer to make what you think might happen.
right,
They leave it
but
open, an open-ended thing for you. Now,
right,
audience members don't really,
right,
you know, but that's just kind of how it's played because they give you just enough and you got to come to your own thoughts with it, your own, you know.
interpretation. But
Mm-hmm.
what do you think of that though? That scene though. I mean, that's a little too cringy for me as a because this guy is
Yeah.
young and this girl is over there banging the father of Wendy, and she's also flirting with him. At least to me, she was flirting with him when she
Right.
was trying to find out the details with Marty's. Whenever she was sitting next to Marty's daughter, she was breaking down the details of him in his past. Then
Yeah.
she goes, "Well,
Yeah.
I want to save him." So basically, they used the church once again as a crutch to try and save this guy from his sin. And then they
Yeah.
decided to take him on the road with them after that because now he joined their church.
Yeah. So
So,
I thought it was beautifully shot and beautifully told, honestly,
right,
because it makes you like, oh Lord, you know, what's this poor guy doing now? You know,
right.
and it's
But hey, at
like
least he's not marrying a stripper this time. At least this time,
exactly. It's kind of like you're moving up, you know what I mean? It's like you're you're getting
right,
involved with the church. Hey, bless you, you know.
right. But
So
okay, so we talked about him, and then I like how you have the FBI agent. You show up. You have Navarro's sister shows up. You have Ruth that shows up to this funeral parlor. Because and just, where's the dick swinging meeting at? And the guy has this big smile on his face. He goes, well, I would never say something like that, but they're in the back. he's just a small town guy that's just trying to be friendly to everybody, even though there's not a funeral going on.
He's just yeah. I know. See, that was
dark
great.
humor.
Yeah, that was just great. Just seeing that. I was like, that's awesome.
It really is, because also though too, even though they had this set up in a funeral home, this resembles death, and also and you're also wondering too, who's going to make it out this season?
I know. Yeah, at that point of watching it, you don't know exactly what's going to happen, because you're like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to watch it all the way through to figure it out. You know,
I think of Ozark's like chess, because of the fact that all these pieces are moving into this one setting in this one season, and you don't know how this thing connects.
Yeah.
And then once you see it connect, it goes balls to the wall with it.
Yeah.
And also too, I mean, another thing I want to bring up, I know I mentioned the bartender and everything from season 1, but I like how they gave her a bigger role this time, to where she's actually helping Ruth get what she wants, and also gets what she wants, because she knows that Ruth can run the casino inside and out. She knows that. That's why she basically told her, look, you need to go on ahead, get your stuff sponged so that you can run this casino. You can run this casino with or without me. You know how to do this.
Yeah.
So she gave Ruth courage. She actually.
Yeah, she did. She was like that friend that Ruth never really had. That best friend she always never had, type thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, for sure. And then another thing too is, I thought that we were going to see more of the Casey mob. They don't even come into this picture, because I thought, okay, is this going to be the Casey mob showing up because of Javi on what he did? Is Ruth going to have to get back up, because he's basically a made guy where basically no one else can touch him. So my first initial thought was, okay, maybe now Ruth has to go back home, get the Casey mob, and now it's Casey mob versus cartels.
Right.
Because that's my first initial thoughts. But then, of course, we'll end up seeing what happens with Javi.
Sure.
And when he's beating the crap out of that one guy in the bathroom, like, this guy has to die. And the next thing you know, next scene, he winds up dying. But I didn't expect it to go down the way that it went down. I was expecting maybe, like I said, I was expecting Navarro to do something, or maybe Marty tells Navarro, and then Navarro gives him the go-ahead to kill his own sister. Because, you know...
and the good thing about what I like about part 2 is you really get to see the cartel through Navarro's sister. Like when she looks at the lady who owns that drug company, and she's like, if you say anything, I'm going to cut you from clit to chin. When she said that, I mean, that's pure gangster. I don't, I believe me. And I'm telling you, I know, because of my previous days of being around gangsters. I know them, and I know that dialogue, and I know that look. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, I feel like I've just been back in time, and I really saw something, that was for real touching.
Also too, Creighton, is this though too. She threatened. She also has that thing again, like she did when Javi died, where she's blinking like, really. I like how the actress is doing this. I'm not sure if it's an actual real reaction, or if it's actually her acting, if it's in the script. But I think it might be improv. But if it's improv, it's damn good improv, because of the fact that she's over there blinking her eyes really fast, and oh my god, and you fear for her, and then she winds up ratting Ruth out. And then basically they're setting ducks. They're just wounded birds. Her and Marty Bird and Wendy Bird are just wounded birds, to the point where they can't do anything, because because not only that, but they also showed weakness by saying, talking about their kids all the time. So she knew that was her go-to.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about the twitching. I just don't know. if I had to guess it, just from me making movies or something, they probably shot the scene, right? Because I don't see. I mean, maybe a scriptwriter wrote that in there, but it was either the actress or one of the other actors or the director or somebody had the idea of saying, let's see what it looks like when you twitch your eyes like that. Let's just try it and see. Because a lot of times when you're making movies, just the subtle things like that, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So I don't know if it was written
It was perfect for a
or
character.
it was just one of those golden moments of like, golly, that's great. You know, what a nice
Right.
touch.
And then you find out basically it's this guilt and shame of knowing now the birds are she put their kids in danger because of that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
now they can't do anything.
Yeah.
Of course, they were thinking, and I thought that they were going to call the hitman, like I said before, but they wind
Yeah.
up doing nothing with that. And then,
Um,
okay, so we talked about, speaking of hitman, we
mhm.
wind up seeing the aftermath of what happens to Ben in
Mhm.
this season, which is something that I'm really glad that they showed us because
Yeah.
now we actually have a
Mhm.
context of what
Yeah.
happened to Ben. And
Yeah.
we wind up seeing the Navarro's hitman security guy winds up shooting him, telling him he picks him up from the restaurant and makes
Mhm.
him get inside the thing. And I like how he's talking about it. You know, I always want him, Ben
Yeah.
is reminiscing.
Yeah.
And he said, there's a lot of reminiscing in this episode,
Sure.
in
Yeah.
this season, I mean, because you have, of course, Ruth reminiscing, you have Ben
Mhm.
reminiscing, and he knows what's going to happen to him. And
Yeah.
he's like, do you think my father would be proud of me? Do you think Wendy would be proud of me? I think she would. And
Mhm.
then
Right.
he tells him to lay down on the tarp,
But mhm.
pulls the trigger, and now he's dead.
Yeah.
And so
And
that's
yeah, and it answers that question of, everybody, the audience, you get to see what happened to Ben,
right, step by step, play by play, versus just speculating.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was good to see
Yeah.
Ben. I'll be honest with you, it was good to see that
Yeah.
actor again because I like the Ben character,
I think
despite
everybody does. Yeah.
he was just misunderstood, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
But then Wendy decides to lock herself up in a mental institution to get her kids back. Ruth winds up taking the gun and threatening Wendy's father, which is the complete opposite of what Wendy had in mind. But hey, it worked.
It worked. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but I was wondering, okay, are you gonna really let Marty do this whole entire party by himself?
Right. I
Because
mean,
Marty can handle it, but he doesn't know the
right.
business front as well as she does.
Yeah. And, not to jump ship or jump
No,
things,
we're
but
just
this
going
is,
by.
yeah,
Yeah,
going with it. Like with Marty, this is something that I also want to bring up to make your audience and for you as well. And this is coming from a scriptwriter, filmmaker guy. But okay, at the very beginning of season 1, you saw Marty that was about family. He put his family first, right? Then as
yep.
the seasons went on, you would hear Wendy consistently, not all the time, but pretty much, she would be saying, "Why are you putting everybody else in front of your own family?" Her words, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then when it happened at that, where the Navarre's sister and said Ruth is going to die, and looked at Marty and them and said, "If you give her one hint of it, I will kill your kids,"
Mm-hmm.
and they knew right. And the emotion that Wendy had more of the emotion than Marty, to me personally, of acting it, but they knew that, and Marty knew that if they gave one inkling towards Ruth to warn her that their kids would die. And to me, that was Marty's way of saying that I'm putting my family first. I am putting my family first. And she even said that in so many different ways of wording, in
Right.
that scene. So to me, it was like, oh my gosh, this has just come
Full
right
circle.
back, full thing. You know what I mean? That was beautifully shot
Mhm.
and done to me. I mean, what do you think?
I think so too. I'm going to be honest with you because when we see Marty, he can shit talk his way out of everything. I'm going to be honest with you. He can put up a good game. Even when he's scared shitless, even when he was sitting in front of Navarro being tortured, he was still going to find a way out of this.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, this dude he should be a lawyer instead of a money launderer, the way he does his business. But it goes to show you why the cartels wanted to do business with him.
Yeah.
And everything, because he knew the game. He just had to know how to play it. And that's exactly the arcade game, basically, of how to defeat the king of his own domain kind of thing. And of course, he winds up finding a way around it, like he always does. But also, too, when Marty's pretending to be Navarro, like I mentioned before, I know I said he enjoyed it and stuff like that, but I think that he would have let him live if he would, even though he didn't put the hit on. That's just me. I think he would have let that guy live.
Yeah.
And even though that was him fooling around with the numbers, he still has to make a clear message. He could beat the hell out of him and still get paid and make up the difference, because that's what you would do. You wouldn't kill somebody for messing with the books, technically. You would just go on ahead and beat the hell out of him for a message to make him an example of everybody else.
Yeah.
But he also the guy also winds up beating the heck out of his own accountant, though, too, making it look like he was the one who was fiddling around with the numbers. He's also torturing them like Navarro does. Yeah. Also, too, let's talk about the priest on this, though, too.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about him until you said it. Yeah.
Oh, my God. And here's the thing. This is also going with religion, though. This is going into Christianity on this show. And it goes to show you, okay, what are you going to do after death? What's going to happen with that?
Yeah.
Too? And being judged and everything else, and basically Wendy said that she can save her own self, and then the priest to me was like a conciliary versus being a regular priest.
Right.
You know, even though the priest is very creepy and more threatening to me than anything.
Yeah. I guess if you're the priest to a cartel drug overlord, you got to have some creepiness to you.
Right. But I want to talk about this, though, too. I mean, okay, if I had to choose who to do business with in the world of Ozark, who's happened to be run by the cartel, I'd rather do business with Navarro. At least Navarro can be reasoned with, in a sense.
Right. Yeah.
Javi, to me, was also too unpredictable. You didn't know where to stand with him. The sister's a loose cannon and everything, too. You know?
Yeah. You're right. Who, I would want to do business with, to be honest, Marty.
Okay, let's say, for instance, that you have to do business with Navarro, the sister, or Javi. Who would you go with? Those are the three. You're Marty, and you have to go ahead and choose between those three.
I wish I could choose the priest, but let's see. Honestly, if it was me, probably Navarro, because he's one of those cut and dry gangsters. Do what this is your job, do it. And then once you're done, you get paid, go on about your way, type thing.
Right.
Just don't cross me, because it's not going to happen.
And then if nothing gets done in like a certain amount of time, then you have something to worry about, though, too. That's another thing with Navarro. He means what he says and knows and wants you to do what he says to do.
Yeah.
But I can also respect Navarro in a sense.
Sure.
And you can reason with Navarro a little bit. And also, too, whenever Marty hangs up on him when we forget first introduced to him, I'm like, he's gonna die.
Yeah.
And then he does it again to him. I'm like, oh my God, dude, just stop. Yeah. Okay, so we're 44 minutes in, so I'm gonna go on and say this. As we're doing this review,
Mhm.
and stuff, I had a little bit more time to process things as we're talking about the ending.
Sure.
Because, I said that this also reminded me of a Sopranos ending
Right.
because of the fact the screen turns to black. We don't know
Right.
anything.
Right after
But basic
Jonah shoots or takes, you hear the gunshot.
gunshot. Because
Yeah.
of the fact that, number one, like I said, the PI comes back into this whole entire picture.
Mhm.
And then he's like, well, I was putting two and two together. Ben wanted to do goats, make a business out of goats, and then stuff like that. Then after that, I noticed this cookie jar. And who the hell doesn't have cookies in a cookie jar?
Right.
And
And
so,
yeah.
yeah. And then, of
Mhm.
course, that's when he winds up saying that he looks at Jonah. And then Jonah just has enough of it. He just had enough of this PI guy. It
Uh-huh.
takes the shotgun, and then all of a sudden you hear the gunshot.
Okay. So basically, to me, it's the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. You ever heard that saying?
Mhm. Yep.
There's Jonah, because in season 1, Jonah didn't want nothing to do with none of this, right?
Right.
And look at his ending thing. He's got a gun to somebody.
Well, we
And
also see that in we also see him with the gun and everything too whenever he's hunting and stuff like that, learning how to do the gun and stuff like that. But I'm sorry, going ahead. Sorry about that.
Right. No. But it's like you could see in the very beginning or throughout the seasoning that he didn't want nothing to do with this, but the very last scene, Jonah, he's become gangster. He's holding a gun on
He's
somebody.
full blood gangster.
Yeah. And the way it ended with just hearing the gunshot, it's either you can look at it two ways. Did he shoot the guy, or did he give a warning shot to the guy?
I don't think he did a warning shot, to be honest.
So yeah, so
because this guy's been messing with them since the very beginning of season 4.
Right. And it's kind of like if you can go down the rabbit hole with it, so that to me is an ending where that's how you make a show live on. You talk about that open ending. It's an ending to the show, but what happened?
It's open to interpretation.
Yeah, you can go sit here. We could discuss this for 2 hours. What happens when he shoots him? Oh my God, what's going to happen to them? Let's go another hour on the Birds family, and then it's like, well, if he gave him a warning shot, let's do another hour of
what's going to happen? Right?
Yeah, what did this? That's how you've got a good show, when it's got an ending to where Troy, red pill or blue pill, like in the Matrix.
Well, and another thing I want to bring up with that ending, though, too, is this. Basically, okay, the Birds have another dead body on their hands. Bodies are going to keep piling up with this family.
I know.
And there's only so many times that Marty can talk his way out of something to the point where he's either dead himself or he gets arrested. That's the only two things that could happen. And as a matter of fact, I thought that the family would die this season. I made a prediction on the show for season 4, part 1. And you guys can actually check that out on our audio podcast and on our YouTube channel for that, when I did it with Scene Invaders. For that, even with part 1, when we did this with Scene Invaders. But what I said was, I'm thinking that either the daughter was going to die or Jonah was going to die, because Jonah got so far into doing money laundering. I thought that he would be the one to die, and the sister was the tough one. She was like a Wendy, so therefore she would actually be the one to live.
Right.
That didn't happen that way. They all lived, especially.
Yeah.
Because that's also another thing too, was like me and Danny, we were both speculating, okay, maybe if they made a deal with the FBI, they're on their way out of this whole entire deal, and then they get into a car accident. All 3 of them are banged up, but they survive. All 4 of them. I'm thinking to myself, they should have amped up the risk factor with that, because they could have done something a lot different to make it that more interesting to me as a viewer. Because I would love to actually see that maybe Wendy's unconscious. She's in the hospital. Now
Right.
it's up to
Yeah.
Marty to fill those reins while she's unconscious.
Mhm.
But also, too, this also goes back into Dexter, though, on Dexter New Blood, the way that ended. And I'm like, okay. And the more I thought about it, the more that I started liking the way that Dexter New Blood is. There's only so many times that someone can get away with something before something
Right.
happens to that. So with
Yeah.
Marty, there's going to be only an X amount of time when bodies start piling up to the point where something's going to wind up happening to him and his family.
Sure. I
And this
mean,
woman's not going to play.
and and I have to say this. Speaking of the character Marty, Jason Bateman, I swear to you, he is the most brilliant person because he directed that last episode and he starred in it. Jason Bateman.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I was just shocked. And, acting in it and directing it, that's a double dose of hard creativity, trying to keep things on track. And to
Definitely, most
say
definitely.
he did that, uh, you know, uh, I was talking to another actress, Serena, and, she was telling me about Jason Bateman. His mentor was Michael Landon, or Michael, the guy who did Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, and see, he did the same thing. He starred in
Mm,
that show and he directed it.
okay.
And I was like, wait a minute, this is like that, and I mean, it's like he's doing what Michael Landon taught, him when he was little, what I mean? So I thought that was kind of a nice little nod type thing, or just a interesting little unknown fact, or that people, not unknown fact, but what people may not remember about the season because there's so much of it.
There is.
But
There's
it's
a
like,
lot to process with this season,
yeah. And to
even with
say
part
that,
one.
yeah, exactly. And to say that the guy who was acting in it, Marty Bird, was actually the director, kudos to him.
For sure. Jason Bateman, people underestimate the levels that he can go. He can go drama, he can go comedy, thriller.
Hmm.
The perfect example is the movie The Gift, which is actually
Yeah.
an underrated Jason Bateman movie.
Hmm.
Teen Wolf 2 was probably one of my favorite films, even though nobody really likes that film, but I do.
Right.
But he has so much layers to him and so much
It
stuff that he can
does.
do.
Hmm.
Kudos to Jason Bateman and the rest of
Yeah.
the team of Ozark for giving us four great seasons.
Oh gosh,
And
it's just been a roller coaster wrapped up in a complete emotional ride whirlwind of
and
Ozarks.
right, and normally I would rank each season, but with
Right.
this, I can't rank them because of the fact of how much they clash together to give us one whole 4 hour
Thing.
movie. Well, 4 years of a big long ass movie, basically.
Yeah.
Now, with Stranger Things, on the other hand, I can rank that show with no problem.
Yeah.
This is a whole different monster compared to Stranger
Hmm.
Things, which I
Yeah.
can't wait to
This
see the new
is,
season. But
yeah.
still,
It took them this many years, really longer than that, 5 years, because there's all the stuff that goes that people don't see in making a movie. The script writing and all the other wheels that turn to make the thing go. But to say that they've worked on it for, who knows, probably 7 years, honestly.
right,
uh Kudos, my God. Thank you for giving us Ozarks.
right. Hold on. Let's see. Serena says, "Thank you for the in-depth review." You're welcome, Serena. I hope that you go on ahead and subscribe because I am going to be doing a Stranger Things review, and it's just going to be just like this. So stay tuned for that. And then I'm doing my Doctor Strange rewatch tomorrow, so that way we can get prepared for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness for the weekend.
Yeah.
So that's my goal because of the fact that with the rewatches, I like doing that because it actually gives us some context and behind certain things that we're going to be watching.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but as far as this goes, Creighton, I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on as far as this show goes?
It's If you have not watched Ozarks, you need to start watching it. That's
Definitely.
all I can say, because it's one of those movies
Oh,
that's
sure.
like what yeah, or sorry, it's one of those shows. It's like a movie, but
It is. It is. It really is.
it is. It really is. It's one of those shows where you're not just watching it, you feel a part of it. And to say that that is a series to where you can say that I feel a part, like this is my family or something,
Hmm.
that is something special. Very, very,
Definitely.
very special.
Most definitely. This show was definitely special to me. I remember trying to introduce this to some people way back to, like, this show is too drawn out, too boring. I'm like, they're giving you character setup. They're building the
Mhm.
characters up. It's a slow burn. So if people are
Yeah.
thinking, oh, this is going to be a fast-paced show, Netflix shows are not fast-paced when you
Mm-mm.
look at it. Unless you look
Yeah.
at the movie, unless you look at the TV series Frontier, which would just say Jason Momoa for the first season. That
Yeah.
is kind of a quick paced show with some slow depth stuff into it. But with
Sure.
Ozark, there's so many characters in the show, so much character development. And you were talking about Ruth earlier, right? About how her character, to me,
Mhm.
her character does change, but it fits in with the strengths of who her character
Yeah.
is versus her doing something that Ruth wouldn't do.
Yeah. And like when she was dying, her basically last words, she was straight up Ruth,
She goes
like if
just
she would have,
she goes out like a badass. I'm just gonna say that she
yeah.
just goes out swinging like a badass.
And that
Let's
was
do that. Are you
so
gonna do this shit or
beautiful.
not?
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, oh, that's my Ruth. It's like,
Yep.
oh.
But yeah, I thought Ozark, all the Ozark series seasons are great. I did, like I said, I was actually angry because I'm like, okay, they sopranoed me, and I felt like got let down, like I got stood up on a date, and I didn't get, and But as I'm doing, like I said, as I'm doing the review, I can process it and
Yeah.
look at it in certain angles, and
Hmm.
just take a step back for a minute
Right.
and
Yeah.
think about things on what they gave us, and then go on the narrative too of there's only so much things that Marty can BS himself around before he winds up dead. So that's
Yeah.
also another thing that I thought of too. I'm like, well, wait, I'm being too critical here
Right.
because of the fact
Hmm.
that Marty's a shit talker.
Yeah.
They have dead bodies
Yeah.
everywhere around Ozark,
Hmm.
and there's only a matter of time before it catches up with him.
Yeah. And so are you still angry at it, or are you
No,
more like, now I get it?
yeah,
I've had time to think and
I gave
process
it a
it.
chance to
Yeah.
just marinate a little bit, even though
Yeah.
it takes me a while to marinate something over 3 or 4 days whenever I hear
Sure.
something. But I'm glad that was able to take my time with this review and
Hmm.
just slowly, as I'm talking about this show and loving the stuff that I have with it, and
Yeah.
then going into what I thought was going to be a negative, I turned it into a positive.
Right. That's it.
So yeah, I enjoyed all the seasons of Ozark. There's to me
Yeah.
all these seasons are just perfect the way they are.
Yep. They're good. Yeah.
So with that being said, guys, tell us, Brian, where can everybody reach you at if you guys want to go on ahead, follow you on Twitter and all that stuff. If you have Twitter, I don't even know you have Twitter. You probably don't, but I just was curious.
Not unless Elon Musk wants to write me a check or something. I mean, that would be great. But
Unless it's adopted kid, he owes me like
right,
$3 billion.
yeah. Feed the starving artist.
Right.
Feed me. But yeah, just basically look me up on Facebook. That's usually my go-to. Creighton Films, or the history that haunts us, or that. Just type in that. You'll find me.
And something will pop up.
Yeah.
I just want to thank Serena for subscribing to our channel.
Yeah.
Thank you, Project Arrowhead Films. Thank you so much for also commenting in the live chat. Thank you for Brandy for always supporting me and the live chats and everything too. I do appreciate that as well.
Brandy, she's in here.
She was, but
I'm gonna give Brandy a new nickname, Wendy.
No. Anyways, I'm so sorry, baby. But anyways, this is what I'm gonna do here. Okay, if anybody wants to go on ahead and follow me, all you have to do is go follow me at Movie Lovers Unite at Gmail. No, well, that's actually how you can email me. But if you guys want to follow me underneath Instagram at Movie Lovers TV Lovers Unite over there, underneath the same brand name on Facebook, and then of course on Twitter at Movie Lovers Unit, and then on TikTok as well at Movie Lovers Unit 0. If you would like to donate to our page and stuff like that, donate $5 to $10 to keep the lights here on at Movie Lovers Unite. All you have to do is go on ahead, go to buyusacoffee.com/movie lovers. That's how you can donate $5 to $10 over there. But just simply smashing that like button, subscribing, and also to like I mentioned before, smashing that little notification button on the bottom right-hand corner to allow you guys to know when we have something new. You want to go on ahead and press all notifications and not just the first thing that you see over there, which is personalized notifications. You want to hit all notifications. So you want to go on and do that. And, of course, rate us on Good Pods, rate us on Spotify over there, and rate us, of course, on Apple Podcasts. And we're also on all major podcasting platforms. And then, of course, going ahead, if you want to be on my show or want to be a sponsor, reach out to me at moviesloversunite@gmail.com. And that's everywhere that you guys can go ahead and follow me at. Thank you again, Serena. Thank you again, Creighton. And always, until next time, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. I can't wait to do this again. And bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.